We are standing up for America and for the American people, and we are also standing up for the world. This is great news for our citizens and for peace-loving people everywhere. We believe that when nations respect the rights of their neighbors and defend the interests of their people, they can better work together to secure the blessings of safety, prosperity, and peace. Each of us here today is the emissary of a distinct culture, a rich history, and a people bound together by ties of memory, tradition, and the values that make our homelands like nowhere else on earth. That is why America will always choose independence and cooperation over global governance, control, and domination. I honor the right of every nation in this room to pursue its own customs, beliefs, and traditions. The United States will not tell you how to live or work or worship. We only ask that you honor our sovereignty in return. I spoke before this body last year and warned that the UN Human Rights Council had become a grave embarrassment to this institution, shielding egregious human rights abusers while bashing America and its many friends. Our ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, laid out a clear agenda for reform, but despite reported and repeated warnings, no action at all was taken. So the United States took the only responsible course. We withdrew from the Human Rights Council, and we will not return until real reform is enacted. For similar reasons, the United States will provide no support and recognition to the International Criminal Court. As far as America is concerned, the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy, and no authority. The ICC claims near universal jurisdiction over the citizens of every country, violating all principles of justice, fairness, and due process. We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism. Around the world, responsible nations must defend against threats to sovereignty, not just from global governments, but also from other new forms of coercion and domination. The United States has recently strengthened our laws to better screen foreign investments in our country for national security threats. And we welcome cooperation with countries in this region and around the world that wish to do the same. You need to do it for your own protection. The United States is also working with partners in Latin America to confront threats to sovereignty from uncontrolled migration. Tolerance for human struggling and human smuggling and trafficking is not humane. It's a horrible thing that's going on at levels that nobody has ever seen before. It's very, very cruel. Illegal immigration funds criminal networks, ruthless gangs, and the flow of deadly drugs. Illegal immigration exploits vulnerable populations, hurts hardworking citizens, and has produced a vicious cycle of crime, violence, and poverty. Only by upholding national borders, destroying criminal gangs, can we break this cycle and establish a real foundation for prosperity. We recognize the right of every nation in this room to set its own immigration policy in accordance with its national interests, just as we ask other countries to respect our own right to do the same, which we are doing. That is one reason the United States will not participate in the new Global Compact on Migration. Migration should not be governed by an international body unaccountable to our own citizens. Ultimately, the only long-term solution to the migration crisis is to help people build more hopeful futures in their home countries, make their countries great again. Currently, we are witnessing a human tragedy, as an example, in Venezuela. More than 2 million people have fled the anguish inflicted by the socialist Maduro regime and its Cuban sponsors. Not long ago, Venezuela was one of the richest countries on earth. Today, socialism has bankrupted the oil-rich nation and driven its people into abject poverty. Virtually everywhere socialism or communism has been tried, it has produced suffering, corruption, and decay. Socialism's thirst for power leads to expansion, incursion, and oppression. All nations of the world should resist socialism and the misery that it brings to everyone. In that spirit, we ask the nations gathered here to join us in calling for the restoration of democracy in Venezuela.
북한이 어떻게 하는 남한의 김일성주의자 운동권들인데 이들을 이용해서 밑바닥에 비밀 조직을 합니다. 그게 바로 이석기의 그 RO라는 겁니다. RO. Revolutionary Organization. 혁명 조직인데 비밀 지하 전위 조직입니다. 비밀 지하 전위 조직. 이게 지배를 합니다. 임종석이가 제일 전대의 부장이면 높은 줄 알죠? 아닙니다. 임종석이 밑에 그 밑에 또 지도부가 있습니다. 전대의 부장 밑에 진짜 지하 지도부가 있습니다. 이 지하 지도부가 북한의 방송을 듣고 북한 공작원들을 만나가 이렇게 오다를 가져오는 겁니다. 겉으로 안 드러나요. 이게 굉장히 무서운 겁니다. 공산당 조직은 반드시 비밀을 지하, 이거를 엄비정간이라고 합니다. 엄비는 뭐냐? 엄격한 비밀을 유지하는 정예 간부. 정예 간부는 엄격한 비밀을 유지하는 거예요. 정예 간부를 밖에 절대 노출시키지 않습니다. 전희경 이런 사람은 정예 간부가 될 수 없어요. 이름이 노출되고. 이 쭉대기. 저 밑에 딴 사람이 북한에 지령을 받아가 전달해주는 밑에 진짜 지도부가 있어요. 그대로 따라가야 돼요. 안 따라가면 동무, 다음에 아웃이. 이렇게 하는 거예요. 이 무서운 겁니다. 그래서 저는 이걸 다 체험을 한 사람이라니까요.
Okay, how about
very
this?
cynical.
I'm a reasonable
That's more
man.
cynical than I am.
How about this?
I'm sorry, we're totally out of time. Yeah,
well,
give me one sentence.
Okay. Socialism will win. Thanks for having me.
Ian Samuel, thanks for revealing yourself. I appreciate it.
The United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system, however ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy. Whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect.